Uh-oh, we got no sound, but people can hear me.
That's darn right.
This
It's
is a
like behind the scenes stuff. That's how I
dead
like
ass countdown. Let's fucking do it. I'm here for it. What's up, Nerfers? Welcome back to the show. We are here. It is a brand new year. Much anticipation, much to look forward to. But today is the day that we look back. We got to look back on where we've been so we can appreciate where we're going, right? I'm getting
It's true.
deep here today. 2023 is a deep year. Let's fucking go. Josh, how's the new year treating you? How did the last part of the last year treat you?
It was rough. It was a rough weekend. New Year's Eve was fun though. I went over to my friend's place. We had a lot of whiskey tastings. I don't think I've had that bad of a hangover in a decade on Sunday morning. It was rough. It was a rough Sunday. But yeah, it was a good weekend for sure. Last night, I don't know if I was just nervous about going back to work, but I bit my tongue in my sleep really bad. So if I sound like I'm like,
You're gonna have
like
a little bit of a
flubbing my
lisp
words or whatever, it's because my tongue is fucking swollen. So yeah, that was my night last night. But otherwise, good. How about you?
I did Jack Diddley. It was actually really nice. So one of my New Year's resolutions was to kick off with learning to code. I had kind of slowly put efforts into it over the last however many years, last 3 years or so. And so I have a basic understanding of HTML, but it's pretty outdated now. And so I'm leaning into something heavier after some possible career changes that I might be looking forward to this year. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to learn. And I was going to be like, all right, I'm going to start before the new year, counteract the whole New Year's resolution curse where you bail on it after a week and a half. And so far that streak has not worked out so well. That strategy was not the way to do it, because I ended up watching Black Adam, and I think it sucked away a lot of my will to live. I watched Black Adam and I watched Jurassic Park, and we're gonna talk about those here today.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I was pretty lazy. I took a good amount of time off from work for the first time in a while. Most of the time when for the majority of the year when I took time off, I did it to move house. I took another bit of time off to go to a funeral. And then I took another bit of time off specifically because of my neck injury. So it really wasn't productive use of vacation time. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to burn through the last of my personal days. They don't carry over. I'm going to burn through them. I'm going to use them to actually do absolutely nothing. And man, I got to tell you, it was nice to take a breather. Good. But here we are. We're back in the swing of things. We're rolling our way right back into shit. So
yeah,
I'm here. I'm ready.
Well, like we teased last week, we are going to do a kind of recap of 2022, talk about some of our favorite films, some of our worst films, or not so favorite films. I have not seen all of 2022 films. I know you haven't. There were some that I really wanted to see.
You know goddamn well I haven't.
Like, for example, I really wanted to see The Menu. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that. I was not able to see it. It dropped on HBO Max today, and I could not see it in time to put it in the rankings. So if you see a film that's missing, it might be because we didn't see it, or it might be because it wasn't, high enough or low enough to be on our things. But we'll do some honorable mentions and stuff like that. I think it's only fair. It's hard to rank all the movies that come out in a year. But we're going to talk top films, worst films. We're going to rank the theatrical comic book films of the year. We'll talk some TV shows. We'll talk Disney Plus. So yeah, let's just kick it off. Unless you have any off the top news to talk about.
No, nothing's really jumped out. I mean, the only news that I've seen pop up today is that unfortunate issue with the NFL and a football player who had a heart attack after a hit. That doesn't really fall in our genre, but that was popping up everywhere.
I don't know if you've did you see the footage of that? It was kind of scary.
Yeah, that is a terribly frightening like that, man. I can't think of anything more scary than that.
Yeah.
Than to take a big hit. Like, it wasn't even that big of a hit.
What was the hit to the chest? It took a
yeah, it was a hit
helmet
to
to
the
the chest.
chest, but in the world of football, like, it wasn't the craziest thing you've ever seen in the world. And then just out of nowhere, the dude just fucking drops. You're like, I was like, this is a healthy, athletic person. Like, shh, like, damn, terrifying.
Yeah, I guess the only movie news I can think of would be in regards to Jeremy Renner's accident over the weekend.
Yeah,
He was
that's crazy too.
he suffered he suffered serious injuries from a snowblowing accident, and I guess he had two surgeries.
It wasn't a snow plow that came by while he was like trying to.
No, I think he was the one driving it. Actually, you know what? I don't know. I know he does a lot of his own work. He does like house renovations and stuff like that.
Risky business
Honestly,
in
I
and of
don't know.
itself.
According to this article, he sustained blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries after being involved in a snowplow accident on his property in Nevada, and was airlifted to the hospital. He had surgery, and he is currently in intensive care. But he has put out this picture, and he said, "Thank you for all the kind words. I'm too messed up now to type, but I send love to all of you."
So he was trying to get a vehicle unstuck from a mountain road out in Reno, and he has using a personal snowplow. He got out to speak to the family member who had been driving it. The snowplow started to roll, and he tried to jump back into the driver's seat of the snowplow and was run over.
God, that's kind of like what happened to Anton Yelchin, just without the snow. That's scary. Yeah.
But I'm glad he's okay. Like, that's good.
Me too.
It could have been a lot. That could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's jump into it then, because I don't have any other news, and we get a lot of recap stuff to talk about. So if you're watching and you want to add your thoughts, either to the ones we're talking about or ones that you think should be up there, please comment. But we're going to start off with Seth, and we're going to start off with your top 3 films of the year. And unless I saw your thing wrong, this is what I have for your top 3 films of the year.
Now, correct? So I didn't see a lot of movies, and this was but this was still kind of hard to put together, because on the one hand, I was like, how do I? Well, first of all, I forgot that The Northman came out in 2020 for some reason. I was just like, shit, was that end of 2021? I had to look
a while ago,
and it was like it was April.
Mm-hmm.
So I was right in the ballpark, but yeah, like while I was going through like the list of movies that I had seen, I was like, I was catching up on a lot of older content. Because it was such a weird, it felt like a weird past couple of years. Like I was juggling putting Dune on this list. I was like, wait, no, it was 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time a movie came into my head of something of like big merit for me, or at least enough to end up on this list, I was like, shit, that came out in 2021. So it's a little difficult at first. And I also really wanted to avoid putting Avatar on there, not because of any bias or anything like that. It was just like, I felt like there was at least another movie in there that I had seen that really stuck out to me, but I was having such a hard time remembering which ones were really making an impact on me. And these 3 ended up being the ones that kept on coming to mind each and every single time. I mean, The Northman, unfortunately, I missed the screener opportunity for that one. Like, it sounded like I really missed out on that opportunity. Unfortunately, I had a medical emergency. So I did end up purchasing The Northman. I missed it on the big screen, but I did watch it on the biggest screen that I had in my house. And it was just like Robert Eggers just put together like what was not what I expected out of the movie at all, which is exactly the reaction that you want when you go to a film.
Mm-hmm.
Even though now there's people talking about being able to sue movie studios for misleading trailers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that was the case here, but like I went in expecting to see some sort of like Viking war movie, and I ended up seeing this brutal, gritty, slightly mystical, brutal revenge story. and which was fucked up in all of the right ways. The cinematography was incredible. Like, and especially now that 2023 is kind of like when I'm going to finally enter that milieu. This is one of those movies that I know that I'm going to go back on to kind of like catch certain elements of there, just in their use of color, the absolute beauty of not having, which is something that I'm going to bring up again in another piece of content, but like not using a green screen for every other fucking shot. Yeah, the Northman was ridiculously good. Alexander Skarsgård just keeps on showing up, and like it was weird because like the only thing that I remember seeing him in before this movie was the latest the Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong movie, and it was just like, oh well, that wasn't super awesome, but he didn't do a bad job, I guess. And then I see him in this, I'm like, fucking shit, man. Like,
Anya Taylor-Joy, she's been showing up in a lot of things, including this one. She's had a couple big years and a couple big years coming. So yeah,
she won me over big in Queen's Gambit, and so seeing her in this, where she playing a very different character, but yeah, again, did it really, really well. And Nicole Kidman actually was pretty awesome in this. As I mean, spoiler alert, kind of a villain, or fully on a villain, really. I mean, yeah, it was pretty messed up. And then the Batman was an obvious win. Like you walk into a movie like any DC property right now with a lot of cautious optimism, thinking, I was like, okay, this could go wrong at any fucking moment. And I hate that that's the outlook that I have on DC properties now, but unfortunately there's another movie that we're going to talk about today that just reaffirms why I have that impulse anymore. But yeah, walking into the Batman, seeing a fresh start without an origin story, which was the right move. And everybody knew that was going to be the right move. Like, there was no good reason for them to be like, okay, we're going to throw an origin story for Batman in here again, start completely from scratch. No, we're not going to do that. And then a huge amount of people talking about how Robert Pattinson was not going to be a good choice for Batman. They couldn't see it. And then walking out and seeing he actually did a pretty damn good job of being like a more emo Batman for sure. But also probably like the best depiction of Gotham that we've seen in any Batman property. Like, I feel comfortable saying that. I think there might be some contention there. But I mean, just beautifully shot and a lot more grounded. Is like, I mean, while still kind of keeping like that comic book feel. It was like, obviously the Dark Knight did an amazing job, but like the city of Gotham didn't feel like city of Gotham. It felt like New York. Like it felt like a real place. Gotham in this felt like its own character almost to a certain point. And yeah, like it was kind of hard to like pick out where this might be in the world. And I think a good portion of that is because they filmed it overseas. It wasn't in Scotland, I think, is where they filmed most of it. But yeah, just an excellent all around. And while I'm blanking on his name right now, and it's going to drive me nuts. The guy who played Riddler. Oh man, Paul Dano. Yeah. Everything that I've seen him in so far, he's just done spectacular. And he did, his performance kind of like took it away from me, especially because of how like relevant it was, to where he thought that he was being like this justified vigilante to a certain point. And then when like the guy who's supposed to be our hero shows up and it all falls apart for him, like he just played the I don't want to say the incel character so well, but he kind of did. Like the shut in,
his followers definitely
psychopath. Were. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think that's been like the best recipe for success for retelling of superhero stories, where the main superhero is not a superhero, like he does not have superpowers, is to make it as grounded of a villain as possible instead of it being like this impossible task, which is why the Dark Knight trilogy did so well, is because it was like, and the third one kind of fell off a little bit because it was kind of like it kind of became too grand in its scope of what the stakes actually were to a certain point. But this one did a really good job of keeping it grounded, and I love it. For me, the Batman is a great flick that would have been perfect if they'd ended it on top of the arena, and when he finally shows empathy, that girl getting airlifted with his assistance.
That was definitely a good shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what came after that? They just had the short Joker scene, and then the parting of ways between Batman and Catwoman. Those were kind of epilogue scenes, but yeah.
I think the scene of him on top of the arena still kind of like threw me off a little bit, actually. Like, it was a great shot, but at the same time, it felt kind of out of character for a guy who's a vigilante trying to get away. It's like he's only been Batman for a couple of years now. Like, I felt like he was still very much kind of like
I liked it
fighting
because it
towards
was kind of
anonymity, but I did like it.
Compared to the beginning when he saves somebody and they're afraid of him, and then at the end he saves somebody and they don't want to let go of him. I liked that turn. It was definitely a more hopeful end than the Batman taking taking responsibility for multiple murders and he's being hunted at the end of the film. It was definitely more hopeful, but I liked it. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if they have, like, part of my anticipation for 2023 is to hear news about whether or not they're going to continue on with this. Of course, the history of DC being incredibly clouded right now, we have no way of knowing.
The future being incredibly clouded. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think this one would be an easy green light. And I thought they already did, but now everything's up in the air with what they might do. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't imagine them dropping this, but who knows?
Yeah, I absolutely no way to tell. It seems to be kind of like a loose cannon situation out there.
We'll see, Brad. And then your third one, of course, we talked about in great length last week.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna dive in hard on Avatar. This ended up on my list specifically, again, like I said in the last episode, it wasn't because of its story or its narrative, because again, this wasn't a groundbreaking narrative or anything like that. But if every now and then you'll get a piece of content or a piece of media out there that kind of sets a new bar for what that medium can do, and giving future artists something to strive for. Something that comes to mind. I mean, I'm going to go a little bit more musical nerd than I ever have on this show, but there's a band out there called Polyphia. They're an instrumental group. They started off as kind of like a speed metal thing, and then they've kind of slowly leaned into more pop roots, which normally I would be opposed to, but their talent and skill that they displayed that I had originally been attracted to stuck around, and they have kind of changed the game about what you would expect out of like an instrumental guitar group that's not just another metal shreddy guitar wank fest. And that kind of like changed my perspective on like what I could do with my own personal music, and it like gave me something different to look for. And so now, instead of playing my instrument alongside of like the genres that I was always sticking to, I'm now forcing myself to kind of branch out a little bit more. Now we've got people who are going to be looking into like what Weta Digital was able to pull off with Avatar again, like change the game again, which is ridiculous. I mean, Weta Digital already had like a ridiculously good resume underneath their belt at this point. So to come out like this and again just be absolutely game changing, like that's important, while at the same time keeping me entertained throughout the entire runtime, except for a few areas, which I think is an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure.
I am a tough crowd. Like, I am a tough audience.
Well, but it's not a bad thing. So let me switch over here. We're gonna do my top films, and then we'll get into worst films. I saw a few more films than you this year, so I did my top 5 films, even though it says top 3. So Josh can't count, but these are my top films of the year. The Batman we've talked about. I loved it. I saw it multiple times. I loved the realism. I loved the takes on the characters. I loved Colin Farrell's Penguin, and I really hope we get that Penguin spinoff show. Again, we don't. They said we were, and now everything's up in the air. So who knows?
Yeah, they haven't been shy about telling us what stuff actually got shot down, though, and that hasn't shown up on the list yet. So I mean, that's a good sign.
Right. Nope. As a Jordan Peele film, I love Jordan Peele. I thought Get Out was fantastic. I thought Us was intriguing. I really liked Nope. It was a alien film and yet different than other alien films that had a lot of really cool nods to things like Jaws and a lot of other stuff. I just thought it was a very interesting sci-fi film that went in a direction that I didn't expect to go in, and so that's why it's on this list. Top Gun Maverick was fan fucking tastic. Any sequel that comes, what was that, 35 years, 30 something years after the first one,
That is a long 30, 34, 35.
yeah, and knocks it out of the
Good
park
range.
this well. I mean, uh it was the highest grossing film of 2022 until like 2 days ago when Avatar 2 beat it. But it was a very, very well done film. And hats off to Tom Cruise. I mean, he pushed for a lot of things in this film. He turned down this film for years because he didn't like the script. When this script came about, he took it up. He pushed for the more realism with the camera shots in the jets. He
Because of
pushed
course he did.
for they offered them so much money to put this film out on a streaming service during COVID, and he said absolutely the fuck not. And I'm glad he didn't because it was amazing on the big screen. Prey could have been amazing on the big screen, but somebody thought that it was safer to put it out on Hulu. And that was probably one of the dumbest mistakes of this year because
Yeah, that's a weak
Prey was a great
platform for
film.
something like that.
It really, yeah, it is a weak platform. Prey was a great film. Oh my god. The Predator, the last Predator movie called The Predator was absolute shit. And we haven't had great Predator sequels. Predator 2 with what's his face? Uh the guy from
Danny
Lethal
Glover.
Weapon, Danny Glover. Predator 2 was interesting. It was good. It wasn't great. Predators, I liked it. That was interesting. The Predator versus Alien films were not good, but this was excellent. They put it in a way different scenario, and you know I liked it a lot. It was really good. And then I did want to put Avatar on here, but I expected Avatar to be good, and it was good. And I was coming up with all these films from the second half of the year, and I'm like, I need to go back and look at some of the films that really impressed me in the beginning part of the year. And this is getting cut off a little bit, so I'm gonna bring it over just a little bit, but um, maybe just like this. But Fresh was a film that came out earlier this year, and I really loved it. Sebastian Stan was fantastic in it. I think it also came out on Hulu, and it was great. It for those people that have not seen this film, I'm going to spoil the shit out of it, but it starts off like a very hard rom-com, and you're into it, and then about 20 to 25 minutes into the film, it takes a hard left turn, and that's when the credits come up or the title card, and then you're like, wait, and it's a totally different film, and it was fan fucking tastic. I really liked it. I knew the twist going in, and yet I still really enjoyed the film, and I wanted to watch it again immediately with somebody when it was done. So I figured that warranted it to be part of my top 5, not top 3 films of the year. So yeah.
Unfortunately, I searched it, and the first thing I get is a YouTube channel with 7.75 million subscribers. Looks like a gaming YouTube, a music video for Kool and the Gang called Fresh that's 13 years old.
Search Fresh movie 2022 then or something. I don't know. Be a little more specific.
Yeah.
But
thought it would pop up like right off the bat.
It was good. Sebastian Stan has been taking these different roles, lately. And while I wasn't a huge fan of the Pam and Tommy show that he did this year, I really liked this one. This was like just natural charisma, and then it was really good. I liked it a lot. So it made my top 5.
I'm looking at the trailer now. It's shot really well. I like the look that they have in it quite a bit.
Well, you're not going to watch it because it's a horror film, but
okay, fair enough.
The
no,
twist.
like I went through. So I don't know if I watched or rewatched Predator finally, because like there was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't remember, and I could have swore that I had seen it earlier in life, but yeah, there were a few things that were sticking out. There was like crazy, specifically in preparation.
Predator, that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the first Predator.
Yeah.
Specifically in preparation to like try and watch Prey, because that was like that was another thing that I said for 2023 is I was going to watch more movies like when they came out.
Sure.
And try and catch up on some old ones and maybe give some horror movies a chance. Because like everybody who's watched this knows, or who's been watching us knows, I don't do horror films. They're not entertaining to me. Most of the time they're not scary for me either. Like they're just kind of like, I'm just waiting around for the gore to happen or something like that. Like, which is also not fair to most horror films. Most horror films are not just gore fests. They are specifically trying to tell a story just in like a scary aesthetic. But yeah, that was another one that I was going to go for. And me and Cece, or like, well, Cece missed out on it, but I watched the original Top Gun in preparation to watch the actual the new Top Gun Maverick. And unfortunately didn't get around to it this past week, because I wanted to have that one ready before the end of the new year, because I had a feeling that I was going to like it. But then I watched the original one and I was just like, I didn't enjoy this as much as I remember enjoying it. But
well, you'll have to get around and watch the second one.
Yeah, I'll have to get around to that one. Nope is on my list though. Nope is absolutely on my list. Because after like looking into it and finding out that it wasn't just like a straight up horror film, like
it's more of a sci-fi thriller.
The other ones, looked like it was a lot more in that sci-fi milieu, which is what I'd like to be a part of. So,
okay,
I'm gonna do better this year. So every single time you bring up a movie that you just saw,
improvement in 2022. So I believe it.
Yeah, but I'm putting a valiant effort towards it to play less to work less hard on keeping up with video games, and which we don't talk about very often, and more of an effort to keep up on shows I'm not going to make any promises on shows. There's a lot of shit coming out, and there's a lot of shit that comes out all the time, and shows are a hell of a lot more of a time sink than movies are. So
true. Let's move forward with Seth's worst films. And again, he stuck with 3 of 2022.
These are not in any particular order, and I don't want people to think that because they're on my worst list that I'm considering them like one of the worst movies. They're just like the biggest. Well, one of them was.
It could be like the biggest disappointment, or there's a lot of reasons why it could be on.
Maybe I have different classifications for why they ended up on here, but yeah,
I'm sure there were worst films that came out in 2022, and you might just not have seen them. But if you were highly disappointed in this, then I totally understand. So let's look at them
for sure.
Worst films. I think we've talked about all these en masse, but do you want to give a quick reminder of why you didn't like these films?
So I'm going to start from the right here. So Multiverse of Madness ended up on here because I expected it to be a lot better. So like the bar was set pretty high. Like the phase 4 of the Marvel world had not been going well, obviously. And I was really hoping that Doctor Strange, like I liked the original I liked the first Doctor Strange. I liked it more than most people did. It ended up higher in my Marvel list than most movies did. And so I had high hopes for this one. And then I saw that Sam Raimi was in on this one. I was like, okay, I'm even more on board now. Let's see how this goes. And after watching Loki and seeing how serious the multiverse situation was going to be, it was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then finding out that Scarlet Witch was going to be in it and probably the villain, I was like, oh my God, all right, here we go. And then we get into it, and it is just this mess of a movie. Like we do know that there was a lot more to this movie that ended up getting cut out. And I feel like that probably had a big thing to do with it. Is like Marvel, we talked about this when we actually did a review, is like Marvel probably didn't want another 3-hour movie And so they were forcing him to cut stuff down, and he was probably getting a lot of good stuff and just made it that much harder to do. While at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel were the ones that were pushing for all of the fan service and cameos that ended up showing up in this movie, which took away from the experience for me. And while there were some really cool moments in this, unfortunately, it had a high bar to reach, and it choked. And hence Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness gets the title of my biggest disappointment of the year. It's not, I wouldn't say the worst film of the year is super fair, but is my biggest disappointment of the year for sure. Then Jurassic World Dominion was just like I can't help but chuckle when I think about it. Because there's so much about it that I don't even remember anymore, because I saw, like, it was a while ago, but it showed up on streaming services like quick. Like I watched it on Peacock, and which was not the platform I was expecting it to show up on, but it was like exclusive on Peacock or something like that. Like I think it still is. Like I think it's still a Peacock exclusive. I'm gonna pop Peacock open real quick, but like this isn't even a movie that I would want to throw on in the background, which none of the Jurassic World films have been. Like that's the true unfortunate thing here, especially because like Jurassic Park was the first movie that I saw as a kid that truly scared the piss out of me. Like I still have dreams to this day of a T-Rex like stomping towards me, and I'm just running for my life, and I can't get away from the fucking thing. And then Lost World came out, which in my opinion was actually severely underrated. I think Lost World got a really bad rap. And that one was like, hey, guess what? There's T-Rexes in residential neighborhoods now. And so I had that get added into that fucking nightmare pool that I had in my brain. It's like, so this movie affected me. And so they had set a high bar, and then Jurassic World creators were like, hey, let's fuck it all up. And in the first one, you're like, all right, generic monster movie. This is exactly what we expected it to be. Whatever. Wasn't great. Wasn't good. But like, if I had to throw on a movie in the background, I wouldn't be horrified if this one showed up in there. And then I can't even remember the fucking name of the second one.
Lost. No. What was it?
Jurassic World. God.
Volcano Island.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Jurassic World.
I was really thinking that I'd be able to remember this one off the top of my head. But...
yeah. What was it? The
Fallen Kingdom. All right.
Fallen Kingdom.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That was just
forgettable Kingdom.
That was just a dumpster fire of a mess. It was really bad. And then this one came out, and they were like, hey, what if we had a dinosaur movie where dinosaurs are amongst like the human populace now, and instead of telling a dinosaur story or having dinosaurs be like the main thing that's pushing the plot along, bugs and a kidnapping. What? And then a bunch of fucking plot holes that didn't even need to be in there. Like they didn't certainly spark up any questions that I needed to have. More convenient fucking solutions to, well, just about every single plot worry that they might have had when they were writing this script. It was like, how are we going to unite these two groups? Oh, we're super convenient. Their car is going to crash right in front of them somehow. Yeah. Who would have fucking thought?
And literally no sense of danger. Every single person was perfectly fine.
There was a moment where, like in one of in the chase scene with Chris Pratt, where I thought they might kill him off, but at the same time, because it was the last movie in the setup, and I was just like, okay, he's the only character that we actually care about out of this trilogy, that I slightly care about out of this trilogy, because I don't care about Maisie. I didn't give a fuck about her. I didn't care about Bryce Dallas Howard. She could have fucking died, whatever. I would have expected them to kill off one of the original cast, pull a Star Wars and be like, all right, Ian Malcolm's gone, or Ellie or Grant are going to be dead. Which they didn't do. Just like whatever. I don't know. It was just a fucking mess. And like, I feel like they had given up. They're like, well, we had to make 3 of these. We had a contract to make 3. The first one and the second one did not do well. Fucking phone it in, get it done so we can wipe this off our plate and move on to better things. That's what it felt like.
I love how this poster says the epic conclusion of the Jurassic era.
And it was the most boring out of the 3.
Well, but that was the theme
By
of the
far.
trailers, was that this was the epic conclusion. The director didn't know this was the epic conclusion. He thought they were making another film after this. He said in an interview he did not know that this was the conclusion until the trailers said the conclusion. So that was not his mindset at
that makes
all.
it even worse.
I think the most egregious sins of the Jurassic World series was that in Jurassic Park, Lost Kingdom or whatever the second one was.
Kingdom?
No, Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
And even
the Lost World.
Lost
So
World.
the original.
And even in Jurassic Park 3, a lot of people don't like Jurassic Park 3. I
don't either.
What's the best part of Jurassic Park 3? The Velociraptors. Other than the talking raptor part. But that was it was like you could make a shitty Jurassic Park film, but as long as you had Velociraptors in there, it'd be cool. So what does the Jurassic World Dominion movies do? They turn the raptors into pets, and they're friendly now, and they'll protect you. And there's one that is kind of like a dog to the main character, and will
understands English too.
And the main character is not just a raptor whisperer. He's a whisperer to literally all dinosaurs. He just has to put his hand out to all, and then it's not just even him, it's everybody that puts their hand out. It's
Crocodile Dundee did it first, whatever.
It was dumb. It was stupid. And this third film made no sense on how 11 to 18 different species of dinosaurs get released in California, and then the next film is the world is infested with dinosaurs. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Dude, I just hated how it opened. Like, it had the fucking video of the parent like filming their kid getting chased by compies. It was like, bitch, we've seen what those things do to people.
Right? Remember when that was scary? Remember?
She's just filming it. She's just filming it like it was nothing. I'm like, dude, we had a movie. We had a movie open
to Jurassic Part 2. Yeah, that was great.
Lost World. They literally like mauled a chick, mauled it like a girl bigger than that one.
Yeah,
and then there was like, I could have swore there was a scene in there where like there was a dinosaur in the road and they were acting like it was like accidents because of dinosaurs was like this crazy thing. It was like, yeah, because as if people hitting animals on the road wasn't a big risk already. It wasn't already a big risk, but it was like such a low number. Like, it was such a low number. It was just like, really isn't that big of a problem.
Oh, and then if dinosaurs weren't enough, we now have cloning and all the other stuff. And then they tried to retcon the cloning in the third movie. But
that's right. Oh, yeah. They were They were like, the kid wasn't actually a clone.
She wasn't
like fully a clone or something like that.
Or something like that. It was so like Westworld bullshit. It was like, come on, just go back to the dinosaurs, for God's sake.
That was like the biggest thing. That was like the big reveal at the end of the second one. They fucking went back on that. I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. No, man, just talking about it, like all the shit's just flooding in. I'm like,
I know.
Dude, the CIA guy, like all he did in the second movie was like scream and freak the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, he's like some high-ranking CIA guy. It was like, how much time passed between these two movies?
Not enough.
Like, not enough to be a fucking secret agent level, whatever. Yeah. Fucking yeah. He annoyed me so much in the second movie. Seeing him in this third one as like this highbrow character is like, this is bullshit. I don't believe this for a second. Yep. I'm sure there's more that pissed me off about that one, but yeah, nothing pissed me off more this year than Thor: Love and Thunder. Nothing hit me as hard as Thor: Love and Thunder did. And my God, man, like, I remember seeing the first Thor movie and I loved that one. I really liked it. I there were a lot of shots that I didn't like, mainly because they used a Dutch angle for every other fucking shot that they had. Um, it looks weird, man. And like the more that I research cinematography and the more I look into it, the more shit that I see about movies that bugs me. And going back to that one after having done a bunch of this learning and shit like that, it bugged me even more. Like it was even more uncomfortable. And then Thor: The Dark World, which wasn't as bad as I think people give it, but well, at least not in hindsight now. But then they had like this brief revival. They're like, all right, we're gonna bring out Thor Ragnarok and kind of go into a completely different direction and maybe breathe a little bit of life into this character that's struggling right now, and knocked it out of the park. They did a pretty good job. They were kind of borderline on the humor, but like they did a good job. And then the best iteration of Thor as a character in Infinity War and Endgame, where even in Endgame, I thought that they took the humor a little bit too far with him. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic cable here and it's probably making a butt ton of noise. Like I think the best version of Thor was in Infinity War. Like they had the best balance of humor and seriousness and like just kind of like the scope of Hemsworth's acting in that. And then in Endgame where they still, I feel like they took the humor a little too far and they made Thor, they almost started making Thor a bit of a parody of himself. I'm like, okay, they're probably going to dial it back now, like, cause he's going to go through an arc now. And then I see the trailer for Love and Thunder and I'm like, oh no, this is, I'm not feeling it too well, but like it's Thor. He's literally my favorite character out of the comics. And then you've got fucking Gore the God Butcher to go in with it. And I'm like, okay, they're going in a different direction here, but Marvel's been doing that and they've been doing okay for the most part. So we'll see how it goes. And then they're like, oh, we're bringing Jane Foster back in. I was like, she was kind of like the weakest part of the other Thor movies. I don't know about this, but they didn't give her a full character revival in Ragnarok. Maybe this is the time to get it. And Taika Waititi has done some great work. I mean, fucking between like his revival of Ragnarok and then the way the amazing job that he did with Jojo Rabbit, I'm just like, okay, well, we'll give him a shot. We're gonna give him a shot. If he goes the cancer route with Jane Foster, I'm in. We'll see how it goes. Sure enough, he did, but fucking glazed over it, honestly. And then all of that stuff about not taking the humor too far with Thor, they're like, you know, fuck that. We're leaning in hard. We're not even leaning in. We're fucking dive bombing into that and taking it way too fucking far, and just turn Thor into a parody of himself 100%. And then just circle jerking that the entire fucking movie. Circle jerkling. That's my new term for it now. I just invented a new word out of that flub. Fuck it. Circle jerkling. That's what this movie was. It was just like, all right, Thor's supposed to be funny. People like Thor funny. Make Thor do haha, make money. And and the jokes were shit for the most part. I mean, the fucking weird relationship that he had with his weapon with Stormbreaker, I was just like, this is fucking strange. Jane's like, oh, man, I like that one hurt a lot. Because especially her storyline, like, man, like if you were going to bring back like the serious tone for Thor that he does really well, that would have been the time to do it. And they really didn't do it well enough. They tried squeezing in a bunch of punchlines there too. It was really upsetting. And God damn, if I did not get sick of Korg right away in this movie. It was not subtle at all. Korg fucking annoyed the piss out of me. And then the moment where I thought he died, I was just like, okay, cool. This will be the turnaround for the movie. Nope, wasn't. Also not dead. Great. Fucking awesome. Let's see how that goes. And then fucking Valkyrie just wasn't even in the movie, really. Like, just got like she deserved way better. Like, she deserved way better. Like Jane and fucking Valkyrie both deserved better. Both deserved a lot better in this movie. It just, yeah, this just turned into a mess so fast.
Well, if you think that was a mess, the version that we got, I can only imagine what the 4-hour version was. because
There's no fucking way that was ever gonna. I remember hearing about that. And I was just like, "There's no way."
well, in an
Like,
interview with Collider, they asked Taika and Hemsworth about it, and Hemsworth called it a batshit crazy 4-hour cut. And when they asked, was this really a 4-hour cut or was it more of an assembly? And um, Taika was like, "Well, it's kind of more of an assembly. I think you're right. It's more of an assembly." And he said,
sounds like some shit he would say just because he knows that he's never gonna get a
"Yeah,
director's
but he
cut or
brought
something
in
like that.
so many big names to film scenes that got cut from the film." And he said, really,
Mhm.
about 5 times, it just gives up on the story, and for like 10 to 15 minutes was just telling jokes throughout the film. And
Yeah,
Hemsworth said, "Yeah, the story was sacrificed for jokes." And I was like, "Well, that was kind of the same thing in the version we got."
that was
So
kind. Yeah, that was kind of my problem with it. Is that
yeah,
every single thing turned into a parody, and
yeah,
like literally we were backpedaling with Thor in like the complete wrong direction. It was like you needed to
hmm
strike a balance between humor, seriousness. Like Thor is a big character. Thor is a huge character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is a huge character in the Marvel Universe, and you got to tread lightly with him sometimes. Like
hmm
you got to tread lightly with this balance, like because yes, you guys were having a really hard time playing him super serious. Like people weren't really identifying with that version of him. It's like so they wanted like you needed to make him more vulnerable while at the same time you wanted to make this something enjoyable for audiences because they were ready for a super serious Thor. So you brought in Ragnarok as something that was going to break that tension. It was going to break that. Sorry, I have a biofreeze patch on my neck here,
hmm
and unfortunately I made contact with it,
Oh no, you want to
and
go out your eyes or something?
then I must have touched it and touched my eyes. So I'm getting some burning now.
Oh, I thought you were
Um,
just getting teary eyed over Love and Thunder.
no, I feel like I'm getting pepper sprayed, and I'm like trying to like wipe my eye with my
Well,
wrist because
don't do that.
I don't know how it would have made contact with my wrist on this thing, but
You want to go wash out
um,
your eyes for a second?
no, it's not going to do anything. It's not like in my eye. It's like on the lid around it.
Oh, fun.
So it's like killing me. No, I'm just this emotional about Thor.
Yeah, I can tell.
I can't handle what they did to my boy, man. Look how they massacred my boy. Um, that's what it felt like when I walked out of this movie. It was like, dude, look what they fucking did to my favorite fucking character, man. Like it was brutal.
And that's how a lot of people felt when they walked out of Ragnarok. But I feel like Ragnarok grew on a lot of people, and then
Yeah.
where they took the character in Infinity War and Endgame, it kind of it balanced out. But then they were like, "Oh wait, hard stop and reverse for Love and Thunder. Let's take away any of the character development we had in Infinity War and Endgame, and let's just go hard into jokes." And yeah, it was a bit annoying. I would give you that, and
It
that's
was
why
brutal. It was
I
brutal. Is Thor Love and Thunder is the worst Marvel film out of the entire canon that I have
wow
seen so far.
wow.
And it was my absolute worst film and biggest disappointment at the same time of 2022.
Well, I agree with you. It was definitely one of the worst films. It is on my sheet right there, smack dab in the middle. Um, but some other films that I felt
So
warranted.
you broke the chain. Like I was trying to keep it to 3, but if we were gonna go further, I would have. Yeah, fucking.
I know.
I'm
Well,
glad to
I
see
didn't want to
Black
force
Adam
you.
on there. That would have ended up on there for me too.
Yeah. So I got to start on the left. Halloween Ends was the most bullshit um, uh, movie I've seen in a long time. This movie did not need to be made. They should have ended it with the last movie and just taken a couple. If they would have taken the last 13 minutes of this film and slapped it on to Halloween Kills, I think was the last one, it would have been fine. This film, it was sold on this relationship, and this relationship was in the last 13 minutes of the film. Otherwise, it had nothing to do with those people.
Uh,
It made Michael Myers out to be this bitch, this main kid that gets beat up by a bunch of band nerds in the whole movie. Like that's that I guess that was them trying to be different. Like it wasn't jocks, it was band geeks that beat up this 20-year-old, 20-something-year-old full-grown man.
You've lost me already. Band
Yeah.
geeks wouldn't do that in the first place.
Well,
But
they beat him up. I know, right? They beat him up multiple times in the film, and then he beats up Michael Myers. And I'm like, bull fucking shit. And it was a bad film. It was a fucking shitty film. Uh, the next one over, you have probably never heard of, but I had big hopes for it. It was The Contractor with Chris Pine. It had him and who was the guy with him? Ben something. They did a movie together that was really good. Chris Pine and Ben Foster. They did a movie in 2016 called Hell or High Water. Have you ever seen that?
No, but it rings a bell.
It was a fantastic, fantastic film. He was brothers with Ben Foster. They were on the run for doing bank robberies.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges was after him.
Okay.
Fantastic, very sharp film, well-written film, gritty film. Loved it. Well, they partnered back up for this film, and it looked really good in the trailers. It was all about Chris Pine was booted from the military because of some injuries, and he was defaulting on the house, and his old army buddy, Ben Foster, now works for a private company and said, hey, you want to make some money? Do what you did in the military, but do it for this private contractor and come with us. And then shit goes bad. And in the trailer, it's like, okay, all right, this looks like it's good. In the movie, it was the dumbest shit ever. It was filmed fucking horribly. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad film. And I was like, why would you agree to be in this film? And then, I mean, it was bad. It was really, really bad. The camera angles, the choreography, the story, it was all really stupid. And I was really disappointed. I was surprised because I really like Chris Pine and I like Ben Foster. And I'm like, man, who, what? I think I said it in my review. I wondered what like rich man's nephew had like bad secrets on Chris Pine in order to get him to be in that film. Like I had no other reason why Chris Pine would be in that film. It just didn't feel like a real film. And it was bad. It was really bad.
Blackmailed into waking.
Yeah, I felt like that's what happened.
That's brutal, man.
We already talked about Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm tired of the reinventing of Thor. I'm tired of Thor trying to find himself. Fucking grow up and let's just have a movie where Thor's not, oh, who am I? I'm really tired of that. It's
dude. I was hoping they were gonna kill him. I was hoping they were gonna kill him, and they were like, "This is gonna be the end of Thor in the MCU. We got to move on."
Well, it's
and
not.
Like Jane was gonna take over for him. That was sincerely my hope.
I think Thor's nervous about that, and that's why he's come out and said, "Hey, the next film needs to be a different tone." I think he's trying to save the future of Thor because it may have made money, but most people did not like that film, and they were vocal about that. And not to mention, I think everybody kind of came to the assumption that this was the least Kevin Feige involved film. It seemed like, the rumors about Kevin Feige being stretched too thin were true, and he just gave Taika the reins. And, I don't think that was the smart choice. Netflix came out with a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. This was a pseudo sequel, and it was shit. It was about a bunch of kids who were like, I think they were like, I hate the word woke because I feel like the people that use it for everything. Like
it's like a 4-letter word now. It's kind of like, unfortunate.
But I hate the people that use it because the people that say, "Oh, I'm not woke," like they just think everything is woke. Like not being a dick is woke. Like not hating gay people is woke. Like appreciating a female lead in a film is woke all of a sudden.
It's an insanely popular term with
Yeah.
like alt-right, ultra
Yeah,
conservative
it is.
like characters, and generally in like almost always in some sort of negative connotation towards anybody who would identify like that. So
Right. So I feel like the people that wrote this film wrote all of the young kids in it to be the most wokest of woke kids, and like according to the Fox News definition of woke. So there was nobody that you rooted for.
that's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah,
Yeah, there was
Fox News woke.
yeah, there was nobody that you rooted for. The film was over and done with quickly. It was just dumb. The kills were lazy. It was just stupid. Like there was even it really did feel like Fox News or Ben Shapiro wrote this movie. There was a scene where a person dies because they're in an electric car. Like it's literally, if they had been in a regular car, they wouldn't have died. And I was like, "Oh my god, like just remember when they used to be about like surviving a crazy family and not war on wokeism?" It just felt like that, but in the Texas Chainsaw universe or whatever. It was dumb. Black Adam. Uh, you know, uh,
like before you start, like I want to remind people, like, so if you're watching this video and you did not watch and you haven't watched our previous content, there was a comment that Josh made because I watched this video. I watched this movie recently. Okay, I watched Black Adam like a couple days ago. Yeah, there you go. Good one. Spoiler discussion. Yeah, I guess we are close enough to release. That's probably necessary at this point. Josh, you said something about how Dwayne Johnson was talking in an interview about how they were, or in general context, that he had been wanting to make this movie and had been working on it for, what was it, like 13 years or something?
Years. Yes.
13 years. And you told me, like, if that's what you get after 13 years of effort, like, and then I remember watching it and the whole time I was just thinking, I was like, 13 fucking years.
This movie would have felt outdated 13 years ago.
Oh my god, it was so bad.
It doesn't look, I mean, it does look bad at a lot of spots. There are some spots that look all right, and there are some things that it irritated me more because, like, I like Hawkman, and I was like, this is cool that we're getting Hawkman as a major character. I like Pierce Brosnan, and he was this badass older gentleman in this.
Bad, like, he put in a good performance, but like the content he had was crap.
Yeah, but yeah, encased around it was this shit story, and it didn't look good. The villain looked dumb, and The Rock, he did feel out of place. Like, I have grown to really appreciate The Rock. I think he's come a long way from his Walking Tall, Scorpion King days, where he was just this beefcake on screen, who we all just kind of forgave him for his lack of acting skills. He has come a long way from that, but this film, it just didn't feel, it didn't feel like Black Adam. It felt like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And
well, if you had told me that this movie came out like this was his next movie after Walking Tall, I'd have been like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's still got some acting work to do.
And he was talking this shit up so much. He actually kind of teased that he was going to be in the leadership circles of DC going forward because of the success of this film. I mean, and I was like, y'all are confident this better be amazing. Not. And it was absolutely not. It was not. It was not good. And it just pisses me off that we have 3 or 4 more films coming from DC before the reboot. We've got The Flash, we've got Blue Beetle, we've got Aquaman, and something else. What's the other movie? I'm blanking here.
So am I.
DC
I
films.
thought that was it.
20. I'm pretty sure there's a third one. Oh, and Shazam. which
Oh, right, Shazam 2.
and we're
Okay,
talking
yeah.
about Black Adam. Jesus.
Yeah, we're right in the fucking universe right now too.
Yeah. So
Fucking shit.
this was a waste. It was a waste, and it was a waste of time. And then the whole drama with Superman and how they fucking teased it only to take it away like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about Black Adam a week later. Nobody was. That's how shitty this film was.
First of all, why in the fuck would Superman want to have anything to do with Amanda Waller?
I don't know. Yeah.
Why in the
why is she able to send him,
why in the fuck would she have any authority over sending him fucking anywhere?
Yeah,
Anywhere. Especially after, and why would she be throwing out veiled threats, not even veiled, like full on threats against the guy after he literally just saved probably the majority of the planet from a fucking actual demon? From an actual demon.
It was all dumb. Like,
It was
I
all
get it.
dumb.
They had like, they come in hot. They come in hot. They had info that the audience didn't know, that he was a villain. First of all, it was the dumbest thing that he was a villain. So he took out the corrupt king for killing his family, and that makes him a villain worthy of the Justice Society coming in saying, you better bow before us. They literally told him to bow. And I was like, the fuck is this?
Like, you guys knew he was a slave before, right? Like you guys had that intel.
You're coming with us.
You're gonna tell somebody to bow like that? No, no, it ain't gonna go well. And then they're also going to like judge his villainship over him killing a corrupt military regime, like that are literally occupying a country. The other thing that bothered me is that the city, what was it called? Kandar?
Something like that.
Something like Kondak,
something.
Kandak, something like that. Why is this like mystical Wakanda ripoff in the desert, like still fully on in existence later at that point in time, and still being strip mined and being occupied by a military force, when its super mystical element is like known for creating all this technology? Why in the fuck is like a tiny military regime who did not even have like the main villain of the movie? Like they were not even the main villain of the movie. The powers that be that upheld them were not even revealed, unless it's fucking Amanda Waller, which wouldn't shock me at this goddamn point. Like, why was that place being upheld by them and not by like every other country on the planet?
Right.
And I'll tell you why, is because they were it's very similar to like the cobalt mining situation in the Congo, where like every country in the world just deals with it because they're getting a material that they need at a super fucking cheap price. Guess what? They never made that connection in the movie. They fucking could have. They could have made they could have made corporate greed the fucking villain of the movie. They're like, nope, ancient demon god.
Instead, we got multiple shots of this skateboarding teenager who needs acting lessons.
Fucking skateboard. Oh my fucking god. Dude, when he fucking skateboarded in with like the crowd of people behind him, and he's wearing a fucking why the fuck was he wearing a cape? Why did they give him a cape?
I don't know.
Like,
and
then he
has this rousing speech while he's doing the symbol, and it was clearly ad-libbed because he had no volume. It was like he was whispering the line.
What was the significance of this thing?
I don't know.
They never explained that.
And then the Deadpool kind of giant guy didn't really work. And the gal, what was she? A tornado? I don't know what her powers were.
She was the most interesting, aside out of those two, she was more interesting, but they gave her nothing to do. Like, they talked about how intelligent she was, how smart she was. It was like, oh no, she's gonna save the dude's uncle from a gunshot wound. That is not exactly a medical marvel.
Like,
I mean,
Dwayne,
not today anyway. Like, come on.
Dwayne Johnson is a hell of a hype man. I mean, that dude.
Oh, 100%. He could sell. He could sell fucking anything.
But and this isn't. I mean, he's been in other dumb movies. He was in Jungle Cruise, which was not good. He was in what was the movie
Rundown?
With the big
was the other one?
What was that?
Oh, Rampage. Is the one
Rampage?
you're talking about?
Yeah.
The Rundown with him and Sean William Scott is a movie that I can still go back and watch because it
I
had
love
Christopher
that
Walken
film.
in it.
I
Like
love
I
that
can
film.
still watch that movie. Like that
Yeah,
one, like that was, and that was from like the Walking Tall era. I could
yeah,
still probably sit down and watch Walking Tall and be like, well, it's got
probably.
Johnny Knoxville in it, and then that bad.
Sean William Scott, back when he was still an actor, I did like that film. The Rock's been in the Jumanji films lately. Those were great.
Good, really good. Good job
Baywatch
there.
Baywatch was not that great.
I didn't
Hobbs
see
and
that one.
Shaw was great.
Didn't see
Central
that either.
Intelligence was all right. He does these movies and he hypes them up. And even if they're duds like San Andreas, they still make a lot of money because they're
Didn't
him.
put.
Like he's a hype man.
I feel
But
like he didn't hype San Andreas up quite as much as he has the rest of the movies, though. Like
well,
that one seemed like one that dropped off the radar a little
that
bit
and
pretty quick.
Skyscraper seem like the same movie. Like there's a lot of
Right.
movies that he
It's
does
like
that seem like the same movie. Like
it's
Walking
like Rock,
Tall,
you're gonna be an action hero in this one, but you're missing a leg.
Walking
That's how we're
Tall,
changing this one.
Snitch, and Faster are all practically the same film. He's done a lot, but I feel like this is probably the worst reception of one of his films that I can remember in a long time.
And
I
well, I
don't
think it's
know
because
how
the
it
bar is
compares to
so
box
high.
office.
Like
Well,
I think he's a victim of his own success when it comes to his hype level. Like
but if you
when you're
look at
putting
his
that much
films,
into it, like it's
it's
crazy.
like every other film of his is not good, but he just continues to be one of the most successful men in Hollywood. And I give him major props for that. I mean, that is incredible to have. I'm just looking back and seeing how many films he did that were not good, and yet he's overcome them. But
I think a big problem with this particular movie is that he played the same character the exact same way throughout the whole movie.
yeah,
There was absolutely no dynamic range for his character in this. We didn't
yeah,
see him really vulnerable at any point except for one point where he completely gave his powers away.
yeah,
Like we like and he did that voluntarily. Like he didn't lose. Like he wasn't driven to that. There wasn't a moment where we saw him like upset about the destruction that he had caused. He had just like been standing on the same ledge of that fucking temple building
mm-hmm.
again. Like they kept going back there. I'm just like, fuck, man. There wasn't a moment where he saw like an innocent injured by what he had done, and like that had kind of like shifted him around or anything like that.
It's just
He really didn't have any reason to be connected to the family that
yeah,
was following him around, but they established like some sort of loyalty from him super quick, which didn't really make any sense based off of his attitude towards them right off the bat. He played like it was the same problem that I had with Captain Marvel. Like she played like the same stoic, like
yeah, very
rugged
stoic.
character like the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what he did. That was what Dwayne the Rock Johnson did in this one. It was
And I feel like
like
they were torn between the comics where he is a villain and between the comics where he's an anti-villain or anti-hero. And they're like, should we go the Venom route? Should we go the, he's a villain route?
there's a bunch of
It was
stuff
a
in the
mess.
trailer that got cut out too.
Yeah, it was
Like
just like
there was the villain made the villain arc is what it looked like based on the trailer.
well, and he didn't knock that jet out of the sky in the movie like he does in the
Yeah.
trailer. A lot of stuff like that. Disappointing to say the least. But we've got one other slide that I put together, and that was ranking. There was significant amount of theatrical comic book films that came out this year. So we wanted to rank the theatrical ones. There were ones that came out on other properties, and we're also only talking about DC and Marvel. There were some other superhero films. I think like Owen Wilson was in one, and Sylvester Stallone was in one. We didn't see or we're not including that in this list. And I think we're
We'll
also
talk
not
about the
including,
big two for a reason. Like there's a
yeah,
competition in the social sphere.
and we're not including
We're
the
going to
Super Pets
perpetuate that.
movie either. So
No.
Super Pets is not on this list, even though that was a theatrical film. But there were technically 6 films, big theatrical films that came out, and we wanted to rank them first to last. And this is how we did so. There's some differences in our list. I asked Seth to
Not by
list. I
not by
gave him the
much.
list, and
There's really
Seth told me that Thor comes after bowel cancer. So I didn't see that movie, but I made up a fake poster just in case that was a real movie.
I haven't seen it either, and I really hope that I don't. But I imagine it was still better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
And as you can see, I was pretty much on par, or one for one with your list, with the exception of I put Morbius in front of Black Adam because I actually had a good time with Morbius. I'm not saying it was a good movie. It did feel like it should have come out in the same time frame that we had like Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. I felt like it was from that age of comic book films, but I did enjoy it. I'm not saying it was good, but I did enjoy it, and I thought it was better than Black Adam. And yeah, so I put it in front of that.
Like right around, like it was really tough for me between the two, mainly because I had, I don't know, like the villain was wildly better in Morbius. Matt Smith did a much better job of playing that character than like, and Black Adam really didn't have a villain. Like it was kind of a boring no nothing.
The writers were the villain, yeah.
But at the same time, like I really didn't identify with Morbius. Like these, like my 4 and 5 positions could be interchanged easily. I really didn't feel any attachment to either one of them, and I will say that if anything, I should have put Morbius above Black and Adam simply because of the meme capability that came out of Morbius. Like Morbius was the meme of the fucking year.
It memed so hard they convinced the studios to put it back in theaters when nobody wanted to see it again.
Nobody.
Like that's how dumb they were. They were like, "Wait, it's memeing so hard.
Fucking
maybe
lean
it's
in."
actually a good movie." Nobody went to see it.
And at no point did they edit it in there to where he actually said that it's Morbin time, which was the most upset, which was what everybody was hoping for. Like, so if anybody had actually gone in to see it for the meme, they would have walked out even more pissed off because they didn't do anything to it.
And then they tried to tie it into this to the Tom Holland Spider-Man films with that end credit scene.
Really lazy attempt at it too.
Oh my god, it was
really
bad.
lazy attempt.
It was dumb. If the only thing if I could do anything to this list, I would take these 5 films and put them like at a farther distance away from the Batman, because I feel
that was what I wanted to do. Like,
I feel like
honestly,
the Batman is a film and these are formulaic.
That's a really good way to put it. So, like, I know that people probably hate the comparison being made, but every movie other than, like, I mean, there were parts of Wakanda Forever that don't fall under this, but every movie from like 2 down falls into that Martin Scorsese diagnosis of a theme park ride. That was what most of these felt like, and unfortunately, it felt like bad theme park rides for the most part. Like Thor should have been the ride that the maintenance guys came by and decommissioned before it was even fucking started because it's just a piece of shit. But yeah, there were a lot of moments and honestly, I don't even really want to say that Wakanda Forever did that, because Wakanda Forever was a much closer second than I would have thought that it was going to be. It's just the Batman was just that good. Like if the Batman had been shades low, like if the Batman had a certain amount more flaws, Wakanda Forever might have ended up at the top of this list for me. Because there were a lot of really good moments in there. I think they handled the parentage situation a lot better. Because it seems like every fucking Marvel character on the planet right now is having kids. And also we found out that it was originally part of the plan to have that be a part of the film. Had Chadwick Boseman been alive to make the second film,
a much bigger part of the.
It was a much bigger part of the film, and
it was a father-son movie. So heavily
having to have fallen back to this, as tragic as that is, I think they did a really good job of recovering from that. even though I don't like that every Marvel character is having kids, like that they're going that route with all of them. It's kind of tired at this point because I mean, you did it with Tony Stark, and that was a big one,
I just
and
feel
then it
like
just kept on fucking happening. I'm like, ugh.
Wakanda Forever had the potential to be the great MCU film of this year. We were waiting for it. We thought Doctor Strange had the potential to be the great MCU film of
Yeah.
this year and last year, and it really wasn't. You know, I liked parts of it because I really liked Wanda being a villain, but
Mhm.
I do feel like there's a lot of messiness in that movie. And Wakanda Forever, I said it in my review, it is a good film, but I did not think that it was a great film. I mean, looking back at Phase 4, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home was a great film.
Mhm.
Shang-Chi was a very good film, you know, and
Pretty good.
I feel
I
like those two films are probably the strongest films of Phase 4. And these films just kind of fall in line with that, you know, with the rest of Phase 4. Just kind of like, I mean, it was good, but it's kind of forgettable, and it's certainly nothing groundbreaking like some of the films of the previous phases. I think
Yeah, but
hopefully Phase 5 course corrects, but yeah.
when I have a feeling, so unfortunately for Marvel, the films, well, actually, I don't know if it would have been fortunate in any situation, but I know that we're going to talk about this next. But like the movies did not drag down Phase 4 anywhere near as much as the shows did.
Yeah. Yeah. Disney
Like,
Plus Disney Plus uh what do we have for Disney Plus shows in 2022 just on the
so
Marvel side?
well, so I know that you told me that you wanted that to be another thing that I ranked, and I forgot to send you that because I
And
had the same question.
I let it go as
Um,
well, but I did look it up. So I mean, we had Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and then the two mini specials, right? That was the MCU of this year.
Pretty much, yeah. Werewolf by Night, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy one.
And you know, I'm not gonna. I don't have a slide for that.
So, I mean, really, only one of them dragged down Phase 4 for me really badly. I think Moon Knight was the best out of the Marvel side of Disney Plus by far. Um, I loved Oscar Isaac in that show. I thought he did an incredible job. Miss Marvel falls in a second place there for me. Like, I'm not counting the mini specials because first of all, I still haven't seen Werewolf by Night. I every single time me and Cece bring up watching that one, she wants to watch it together. We end up running into some other issue that's stopping us. But yeah, Miss Marvel comes into not a distant second to Moon Knight for me. I actually really enjoyed Miss Marvel for what it was.
I
Like
thought it was good. It
I
really
had to
was.
I had to
It was
warm up.
cute.
I had to warm up to the tone that it was aiming for and the stakes that it was going to have that had to be lower than what other Marvel properties were going to be. But then She-Hulk came in here and just fucking shit the bed. And
it really did. Okay, I have some slides now.
okay.
No, there we go. It really did. It was not. We talked about this. I don't want to go back into we beat this show into the ground and then 6 feet under the
Yeah,
ground.
well
But
deserved beating into the
we
ground. But
we
yeah,
we
this
talked
is
about this in length. So if you want to see our full thoughts on this film on this show,
yeah.
go back. I here's the thing.
Thor Love and Thunder is still the lowest Marvel property to me out of everything that they have come out with so far.
But
So She-Hulk couldn't beat that, but goddamn was it close.
I want to blow your mind here for a second because I just did it again. I did this earlier today when I was looking these up, and I literally searched Disney Plus Marvel shows of 2022, and Miss Marvel came up, Moon Knight came up, She-Hulk came up. You know what didn't come up? Hawkeye.
Wasn't
that came out in August, and it was that forgettable. It was
fuck
so forgettable
fuck
that
it
people
being
keep
a
on
Chris
forgetting
it
it
being a
happened.
it was a
Yeah,
Christmas show. I immediately thought that it was like last year.
Yeah, and
Fuck me.
yeah, it came out in August. It was a Christmas show. People wanted people to go back and watch it for Christmas. Well, maybe you should have released it in Christmas.
Dude, I didn't even dislike Hawkeye
But it
like
was
that
forgettable.
bad.
We just forgot about it.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. It just wasn't good either. Like it was kind of like run of the mill.
Oh wait,
It
wait.
wasn't
I'm
it wasn't
fucking
nearly as bad as
lying. I'm a
She-Hulk.
fucking liar. Never mind. It came out in November of 2021. What the fuck am I talking about?
Okay, you're freaking me the fuck
I could
out,
have
man.
swore it came out in August.
I was like, there's no way it was that long. Like,
I don't know. Okay, I'm dumb as don't listen to me. Just don't listen to me.
I have to believe you because like you keep up to date on that better than I do. Like
I just
you could have
straight
fucking
up,
kept it going, man. I would have been telling
gaslit you for
everybody
like 5 minutes. Yeah.
you could have kept it going. I would have been telling everybody and their mother. It was like, dude, you know the Christmas show that came out not around Christmas that ended up sucking? Hawkeye, bro. Like, no, you're wrong, you idiot. Like, he would have embarrassed the piss out of me at that point.
And we also had I'm just gonna move on. We also had other shows that came out on Disney Plus that were equally kind of, disappointing. Obi-Wan,
I don't
I
know about
think
equally disappointing. Not as much as She-Hulk.
not as much as She-Hulk, but I think a lot of people had high hopes for Kenobi, and it didn't turn out that well.
I still got a tearjerker moment in a couple scenes though, man. Like they still got me there. Like
Yeah,
they still hit me pretty good in a couple
wasn't a
spots.
shit show, but it wasn't Boba Fett. And Boba Fett was Boba Fett a 2022 show? Or am I making that up now too?
Boba Fett, Disney Plus, 2021. Final episode date was February 9th of 2022.
Okay, so it was the beginning of 20. So yeah, I mean, I think that show was transparently bad to the point where the best episodes of that show
did not
had
have Boba
nothing
Fett in
to
them.
do with that show. It was The Mandalorian. It was just so you had that show, you had Obi-Wan, which I think a lot of people really wanted to be good, but it kind of fell short. I think you had the Bad Batch.
Not even kind of. Boba Fett fell short hard.
Well, Boba Fett just didn't rise up to anything. You had what other? Didn't we have an animated Star Wars show, or was that last year?
So I think
we had the Tales of the Jedi this year, which were kind of forgettable. What about Star Wars Visions?
I think Visions was all 2021. It was like the end of 2021. See, I don't think we had any of them blending
together. You're right. It is end of 2021. But then you had
I didn't think any of those came out.
We
got an announcement this year that they're doing another round of those though.
Right. But you had awesome. It is awesome because it was good. You had
Tales of the Jedi was this year.
It was this year.
And that was boring.
It was boring. It felt like deleted scenes from Clone Wars. And I love Clone Wars, but it was boring.
They would have been fine if they had aired with Clone Wars. Like they could have been like episodes of Clone Wars. It would have been great.
But they ended the year with Andor, and I think that was smart. And I think of all the Disney Plus shows,
I fucking saved it with that.
Yeah, I think this was the best Star Wars show this year, and I think this was the best Disney Plus show this year. Granted, I haven't seen Willow, but I've heard shitty things about Willow. I don't think any.
So I watched the Willow movie without us. I know we were gonna do a watch party there.
Yeah.
But that kind of got away from us, and I talked to Cece about it, and she hadn't seen the movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, shit, that's going to be a moment for us. She's seen Willow now. And like, it was a reasonably good time. Again, like it has its flaws. And a lot of it was actually being held up on my nostalgia of it. But then I'm looking into the Willow show reviews, and I'm seeing the same thing to where they're breaking away from, like, they break immersion a lot, which I think is probably the biggest sin that you can make in a fantasy film or a fantasy property. If you break people out of that world, then you've lost it and you're not going to get it back. And apparently they're doing that with music choices that they're doing, which is making this is a problem that I have with certain content. When I see a bad review, especially around something that I feel like I would have enjoyed or that I feel nostalgia about, I have a really hard time wanting to go and watch it, even if it's free. Like I feel like I'm going to be hurt by the time that I spend going into it.
Yeah.
And that makes it really difficult for me to get in there, which is why I have such a hard time staying caught up on movie properties and stuff like that. Like I lean into reviews a little too hard, like 100%. I'll admit that's a big flaw. But Willow has got me freaked out. Willow's got me really freaked out because I do hold good. Like that was one of those movies that I got shown when I was a kid by my parents, which is a little fucked up in retrospect, having watched it now. But
well, maybe in January, because there's not always a lot of big releases in January. Maybe you'll find time to watch that.
Well,
it
hasn't finished yet.
Okay.
So apparently Willow. Let's see how many episodes are out and how many we got left.
Maybe it'll end strong, but you'll have to watch it and then let us know how it went.
I'll have to make that a go. But
back to Andor. We've talked about this in length, so we don't need to talk about it more. Go back and watch our Andor reviews. But I hold this as the best Disney Plus show of the year. I think
some of the best Star Wars content.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond this year. But since we're just recapping 2022, I don't think there's an MCU show that was better than this. I don't think there was a Star Wars show that was better than this in terms of acting, sets, design, the just the look of it all. It is a solid show.
This was the property that I was talking about when I was talking about the Northman and how refreshing it was to see like real sets and not a huge amount of green screen work. Like this was that property that I was talking about because they did the same thing. They built sets for this shit. They put stuff together. They didn't use the volume.
Right.
Like,
and the writing is on point. And no, it doesn't have lightsabers in it. Boo the fuck who. It is really good.
Fucking grow up.
And I understand that some people think it starts slow, but now that you can binge it, just binge it. I think it has a solid middle structure, and it has a solid final arc. And I thought it's a good show. It's a really good show.
It was like it is a slow burn show, 100%. It is a drama. It is a thriller.
It is a drama for sure. This has some of the best speeches I've ever seen in shows.
It is a dialogue, character-driven show. It is not an action piece, though the action that they do in it, the action that they do in it is really well done.
Yeah.
But like it has real stakes, and it is a grounded piece of Star Wars media, which we weren't getting a whole hell of a lot of.
Yeah.
Like you were almost always seeing higher than ground level characters in the Star Wars universe with all the big properties that were coming out. The Mandalorian is not a ground level character. Like he is a wildly capable, like he's got high stakes. He's involved in some heavy shit. Like you've got Boba Fett, who is a character who's been a part of the Star Wars canon since the fucking good old days. Like you had Obi-Wan, who is a fucking superpowered space wizard. Like we're not seeing anybody who you could literally like walk in their shoes right off the bat. It was like, again, Mandalorian is not an everyday character. It was like Boba Fett, not an everyday guy. It was like you got average Joes in this fucking show doing extraordinary things. And that is something that people identify with. And it is not something that they give to Star Wars enough. It's like, yes, you can absolutely identify with a Jedi because who wouldn't want to fucking do that? But like being able to identify with somebody who's been wrongfully imprisoned for doing fucking nothing, absolutely nothing, and then finding out that they're being trapped in a slave labor camp for the rest of their fucking life, like who doesn't have superpowers to get out. They got to do what they got to do. Like I can't think of a better formula for people to identify with than and to also justify every fucking action of the rebellion at that point, where there was always a little bit of gray area about whether the rebellion were the actual good guys. Like Like, I mean, some less obvious than others, but
Right.
like, and this fucking show cleared that right the fuck up. Like, the Empire are the most evil bastards on the planet now. And you do not feel bad for wiping out hundreds and hundreds of stormtroopers who are just doing their job now, because now it just feels like good Germans, you know. Like, fuck them.
And that's that's literally what they were based around. You know, it's and so it's reminding you that, hey, this is kind of their origin anyway. So
Yeah, this is what we're coming down to. They did a great fucking job.
So we've talked for an hour and a half. I kind of want to wrap this up, but I figured we'd just throw out some honorable mentions or any other things that we didn't talk about. We didn't really talk about TV shows outside of Disney Plus, so I had a couple that I just wanted to fast
I think I can guess
run
which
through
one.
here.
I think I can guess one of them already. Can't remember the title right off the top of my head, but
well, it's probably on here. Wednesday is a recent one. It is fantastic. I loved it. Jenna Ortega is just phenomenal. It was very fun show. I didn't know if it was a show for me at first, but about halfway through the first episode, it really started like showing its colors. It's got the showrunners of Smallville, which I loved Smallville, and it has several episodes directed by Tim Burton, and it shows. And I really had a good time with it. It was a fun show, definitely fun show.
I got to start up Netflix again because everybody and their mother's been telling me that I need to watch this one. So
yeah, and it did bonkers in terms of ratings. It even did better than the latest season of Stranger Things. So
I saw so many fucking videos of her dancing. Like,
oh yeah, that blew up.
It was fucking everywhere.
She's good. House of the Dragon was a surprise, I think. I think a lot of people thought it was a surprise because of the way that Game of Thrones bombed so hard in the end, according to a lot of people. I think a lot of people were like, "Man, you guys fucked that up so much. You should just let it go." And they almost fucked it up again with a different series, but someone special. It's crazy because Warner Brothers has made a lot of horrible decisions over the last 2 years, but somehow this was not one of them, and it did really well. It was received really well. I think both me and you really liked it, and I'm looking forward to more.
I had more complaints about it than you did, but yeah, that was very true.
Yeah, you did for sure, but I still think it was a high quality show.
Oh yeah, no, it was like going back again on like some of the cinematography knowledge that I've had, though, like it broke a lot of fucking rules that probably shouldn't have been broken, though.
That's true.
That was probably my biggest issue with it, aside from all the fucking family fucking that they were trying to do.
Well, there was a lot of that. Better Call Saul. The finale was this year. I'm still on that track that you need to watch Breaking Bad and then you need to watch Better Call Saul.
I got through the first season of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I got through the first season. It was really good. I got to dive back in here, but yeah, I got through the first season.
That show I thought had a great finale, Breaking Bad. And then when they announced Better Call Saul, again, it was kind of like an Andor thing. This guy was not it's not Jesse Pinkman's spin-off show. You know, it's not one of the primary characters. He's a fun character in Breaking Bad in the later seasons, but he's in no means the main character. And for them to base a whole series around him and then make it as compelling and hard-hitting and tension-driven show as Breaking Bad, it was fantastic, and the finale was fantastic. And I mean, they just scored 2, home runs in a row with these shows. It was I love the ending of the show.
How many seasons was Better Call Saul?
I think it was 5. Better Call Saul seasons 4 or 5. 6 seasons.
Too many.
It's a lot, but damn, it's good. I like lawyer shows. I like conmen shows, and then throw that in the Breaking Bad universe. And when things from the Breaking Bad show start leaking into this, it's not all how did Han Solo get the dice? It is story driven, and I did like that. So, but I'm guessing this is the show that you were thinking was
Yep.
going to be on this list.
Yeah, this is the one that I was waiting for you to bring up.
My fucking favorite show of the year, Severance. Oh my god, this was good. Showrunner is Ben Stiller, and it's so good. It's so fucking dark that it fucking freaked me out at times, and I was like, this is, this makes me depressed in such a great way. I love it. It's a good show. It's so good.
It's like I feel your pain, man. I'm
Yeah.
reading 1984 right now.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go.
And I'll tell you how it's making me fucking feel when I get through that one. Like, goddamn. And it, like, based off of the stuff that I've seen about Severance, it's feeling like kind of like a similar aesthetic where it's like how ridiculously comparable it is to modern life.
Oh yeah.
Like, although not as predictive as 1984 probably was, but
this show, do you think you'll ever see this show? Or can I
based off of your recommendation alone, I think I'm gonna try and check it out.
Okay, then I won't spoil it. But
then I really like Adam Scott. Like everything that I've seen Adam Scott in so far, I really dig. So,
and he's great. He can do a lot of different roles, and I do like him for that. He can be a likable boyfriend to Leslie Knope. He can be the douchebag brother to
that's the exact comparison I was going to make.
Yeah,
that's the exact comparison I was going to make. I was like, yeah, there were wild parallels between the two, but he did it so well.
And then he could be this guy. And the idea of Severance, the concept of the show is that there is a company, kind of like Apple, some major company, and the world knows that they have a system for their most sensitive floors, where in order to work on those floors, you have to undergo severance, which means they put something in your head that says when you're at work, you don't have any thoughts or recollection of the outside world. You're only thinking about work. And when you're at home, you don't have any thoughts about work. You're only thinking about being at home. And on the surface, that sounds fantastic. I wish I could turn it off at 5:30 and not be thinking about work. I have stressed so much about work, about different things. I wish I could have that turn off switch. It sounds amazing. But then there's the dark other side of that I don't want to go into. But when they explore it, you're like, holy shit, I didn't think about it like that. And then it gets fucking crazy. And I think let's see, who else is in this show? It's got a crazy good cast. Trying to think who that. John Turturro is in this.
Oh, okay, all right.
He was the villain in the Batman. Christopher Walken is in this show. In not a surprise role, but in just a role that I didn't expect Christopher Walken to be in, and he's fantastic in the role. It's just it's such a good show, and I really recommend it. And they need to hurry the fuck up and bring out the second season, because I need more. Especially it ends on a cliffhanger of all cliffhangers. But anyway, do you have any TV shows or movies or honorable mentions that you want to throw out there?
Off the top of my head, no. Nothing that we haven't already talked about, really.
I mean, just looking back, there was a good handful of films,
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Like, again, though, I was spending a lot of my time playing catch up.
Yeah.
This year, like, there were a lot of films that I was trying to watch simply just to, again, just to get caught up. Like, just that I had missed out on. A lot of them based off of recommendations from some of the cinematography stuff that I was looking into. Like I finally saw There Will Be Blood this year. That was a big one. That was a really big one. The Hateful Eight. I don't know why I held off on that one for so fucking long. But I caught that one right around the time I was watching Stranger Things, and that was specifically because it was on Netflix as the release that it was like a 4-chapter. Like, I watched the long
extended release version.
Yeah, I watched the long
Netflix
version of it.
Yeah.
And that one was super interesting just because it was shot in the old Ben-Hur format, which was like this, like the crazy super wide.
Yep.
That isn't done a lot, almost at all, or at least not notably.
Because you wanted it
Again,
featured at Cinerama, and that was that stretched
yeah,
aspect.
Yeah, this was a weird year for me.
I don't know what the fuck this row is. Top picks for you based on what? I've never heard of these, and I don't think I'd want to watch any of these. Don't look like, but like Violent Night, that was a good film. I watched that recently. Glass Onion, that was good. Smile was good. I've heard Banshees of the whatever this one is, Banshees of the Inisherin. I don't know how
that one's on my list too. I
it's on my
wanted
list
to
too.
catch that one quick, but
I heard it's really good. I heard it's hard hitting, and I really want to see it.
yeah.
Amsterdam, I have not seen, so I can't comment on it. Luckiest Girl Alive almost made it into my top 5. It was a solid film. Solid film.
I think I remember you talking about that one on a previous show.
Yeah,
we did.
Bullet Train was disappointing. Everything Everywhere at Once.
Bullet Train was on my list, and then that one fell into my issue really hard because I saw the reviews, and like a lot of the reviews were unfavorable. I was like, well, fuck, because that one originally looked like one that I wanted to see. It looked like another character movie,
and you might like it. You might have fun with it. I just thought it was lacking substance to me. So
that's what I worry about too.
I've been split with this. Everything Everywhere at Once. Almost every one of my friends think this movie is fucking best film of the year, guaranteed. I guess I just wasn't that into it, but I've heard a lot of people love it.
It didn't jump out at me at first. It really didn't.
Every other person I've seen I've met, I know that has seen it, are like, "Oh my god, it's the best movie of the year." I haven't seen most of these films. Deep Water was disappointing. Don't Worry, Darling. It wasn't enough to be on my worst. Yeah, it wasn't enough to be on my worst films, but it was irritating. Yeah, for sure. Fablemans I haven't seen yet, but I heard that's interesting.
I saw about 45 minutes of Don't Worry, Darling while I was at work. It was on one of the movie channels, so I had it on in the background of my desk. Like my desk at work, like I have a TV with like 18 set-top boxes for monitoring channel plans and stuff like that. Like I work in the cable industry, and so I have to verify these things every now and then, and so I'll always have something on in the background, which is how I've caught some of these shows. But I saw about 45 minutes of it, and I think I caught like the bad 45 minutes of it, or like a bad, like, because I was not getting hooked in at all. It was very easy for me to do my job that day. Like I was not getting like pulled away at all.
There you go. Weird Al, the Weird Al Yankovic story. That movie was fun. Not enough to be on my top films, but it was a good movie. I did like it.
The Woman King is on my list. That was one that I wanted to catch before the end of this, and unfortunately, again, ran into time constraints. I'm gonna have to wait for streaming on that one now.
I liked it though. It was good. It was good. I did end up seeing that film. Some hella awesome women in that. The gal from the last James Bond movie is in there, and she's a force to be reckoned with. It's great.
She's always a force too.
The Gray Man. This is another film from the Russo brothers that just bombed. I mean, those guys struck gold when they came into the MCU, and they, with the exception of Extraction, but maybe including the Extraction, because I liked it, but a lot of people didn't. Their non-MCU films have just not done well. And this one had Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling in the same film. How does that not do well? I don't know, but it didn't do well. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good film.
Great.
Bones and All was about cannibalism, so I'm sure you're not. Oh, Emily the Criminal. This film was great. Aubrey Plaza is a hell of an actress. I remember you
bringing that one up too.
She is, she knows how to play the funny, but damn, she knows how to play the serious as well. And she was great in that film. She Said was also good. That was about the reporters that brought down Weinstein. I really like that. Yeah, there's a lot of films that came out. A lot
Yeah,
of films last year.
I've got a lot of catching up to do. And I mean, like catching on to these things is like part of my resolution. The other part is to play less video games. Um like a big portion of them is kind of like I'm getting away from like the competitive nature of it,
Yeah, yeah.
which is where a lot of my time sink goes into for some of this stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to
And yet I
like
have placed or games to play this year.
so like I'm talking specifically about like the competitive ones where I'm literally getting in and playing in the same scenario just to get better at them.
Oh, sure.
Like I had a hard time kind of letting go that that ambition in the previous years, and so that was something that I would sink into a lot, and so I'd throw on something in the background and kind of plug away at it. But like that's something that I want to get away from. Like I want to get my own projects made. I've got a script for like a short stupid little reel, like almost like a preview reel of what I'm capable of that I want to put together, and I want to have that out before summer this year. Like I want to get that done like I want to have that done like in the next couple months, if possible. Like I'm really going to push for that. And then I've got a script for something bigger that I'm working on, and if I can get the right people attached to it, I'm really excited to put that together. Like I'm not saying that I'm going to have any Sundance level short films ready to be produced at any point, but like I originally grabbed a camera in order to shoot video and to shoot music content and stuff like that. And I very quickly fell in love with the idea of like having some of the stories that I've jotted down since I was a kid, or back from high school, kind of like your Halcyon Garden situations. Like I had a story that I wrote down when I was in high school that never got anywhere, and I unfortunately didn't go down the route that you did, where I never would have been able to put a book together. Like I applaud you for having that level of commitment, because I'd never be able to go that far into a narrative like that. Like I'm still not even fully committed to filmmaking. I'm sticking to short films right now. Like I'm not even thinking about a feature or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of my goal, is to watch more movies and make movies.
Nice.
Or make an effort towards making movies. And also to read more, which is why I picked up 1984. That was like, that's the first book of the year that I'm kicking off to. And if I can read a book every 1 or 2 months this year, with everything else that I have going on my schedule, that's kind of like the goal that I've set. So a lot of shit. Like I've put down a lot of stuff. I'm probably not any less busy, but based off of everything that I'm putting together. But yeah, that's what I'm into. That's my most anticipated thing to look forward to for 2022, is to actually catch more artistic content. I've been focused on creating it for the most part over the last several years, and not catching it in a timely manner or at all.
And we'll have to go to more
that's
together.
when I want to shift. Yeah, that would be a big thing too, is just kind of like
we went to
have it be sort of a group thing.
Live orchestra showing of
awesome.
Was that Empire that we saw?
Yeah, we saw Empire Strikes Back in live theater, and that was great. That was pretty sick.
So we'll have to do more of that this year.
But I would much rather be sitting in a theater crowded full of people sitting next to you and Maddie than I would be the fucking strangers who we went and saw. Like, because we went and saw, God damn it, what was it? It was the movie we went and saw Avatar. Mm-hmm. Before we had even sat down at our seats, the people that were sitting next to us had already dumped like half a thing of popcorn on the floor.
Of course.
They were just fucking sitting there, like sitting in front of it. Sure. Like they weren't even doing anything about it. They're just like, and it was like you would have to crunch through some of it walking by them. And I'm just like, you sick fucks, pick up after yourselves. Like, this is disgusting. What are you doing? Like, I remember saying to Cece as we were walking out, I was like, I feel like we see the worst forms of human filth every time we go to the movie theater, because there's always something like that when we go. Like every fucking time, there's always some gross fuck who's made a huge mess and has absolutely no regard for doing anything about it when they leave. And these fucks got started like before the movie even started. Like the trailers hadn't even rolled. We hadn't even sat down yet. They're like, all right, done.
Well, we are going into January, and January is traditionally the month where studios put their worst movies, or their movies that they're the least invested in. So I think we'll
I
have
think we'll
some
see a lot
time.
of straight to streamer
Yeah.
shows around this time,
There's a
especially with like the climate that we've had now.
I do want to see Megan. I think that looks fun. I do want to see Plane, but I have no I don't think it's gonna be good. It's just
That
called
one's I was gonna
Plane.
say that one's not one that I would have thought you would have locked
But it's
into.
George Butler and it's violent and it could be fun.
Gerard
Or
Butler, but
George Butler, Gerard Butler. It's Gerard Butler and Michael Coulter, the guy that played Luke
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, fighting some dudes. So it could be good. I don't think it'll be good, but anyway, it looks like we'll have
It'll be a
some
fun,
time.
dumb action movie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when you go in with that expectation, like Gerard Butler can do action pretty darn
Right.
well.
Unless some major movie news comes out in the near future, I think the next time we get together sometime here in January, we'll just talk about what we're anticipating, because there's a lot of stuff coming in 2023. There's a lot of movies, and a lot of them I don't even know that they actually are coming out in 2023.
We should probably get them. We should probably get some more watch parties going for this year, especially in the early part of the year. That would probably be like now would probably be a good time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not really going to be in a time crunch for the first part of the month. I mean, we don't even have another Marvel. We've got the Bad Batch coming out like tomorrow. Like the first episode of the Bad Batch comes out tomorrow. So I mean, there's going to be content to talk about, and then we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp in February. So,
which a lot of people have been talking more about. I am, and the I saw
it seems
the
like the next jump towards
Avatar.
This is like the next jump towards like the next big part of Marvel, because I mean we've got the main villain that supposedly the next Avengers is actually going to be based around. So yeah, this is we're finally touching back to that.
Could be big. It could be not so big. I've heard a lot of theories, a lot of rumors. It could be a dud. It definitely looks like they're like, hey, we need to throw Ant-Man into the weird like we've done with Guardians. It looks like a Guardians level movie with Ant-Man, which could be good or could be just not good, but we'll see.
It's got Bill Murray in it. We'll see what happens. Bill Murray likes weird.
I guess he does. So,
but
anyway, this was fun.
Yeah. No. Thanks for checking out this video. We appreciate it. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. Be honest, we can take it. Hit us up in those comments down below. Let us know what your guys' best and worst lists were. Do they line up with our rankings? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Hit us up. Let us know. Be a part of the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. We're pretty random about it. You never know. We like sneaking up on you.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Hit us up on those socials. Be a part of the conversation. And until next time, have a good one.
See ya.